Good afternoon, everyone. Quite excited to introduce to these two gentlemen. And I think all of us must have heard about Nazara and Ease My Trip. But there are so many things which are common in both of them, that they started their journey as a passionate startup founders. Both have started this business on the basis of their passion. 13 years consecutively profitable companies. They have been, listed their company at the same time. That's a very the great coincidence that it was just a 10 days difference between both of these companies got listed. And most interesting thing, which is last in this first half year, both of these companies have doubled their turnover. The same turnover which they have done in the last year, they have achieved in this first half year of this year. That's the kind of thing. And both are highly profitable companies. So when people say that, when you build a scale, you can't be a profitable, but I think both have built that kind of a company. And, but one very interesting thing, which is differentiating both of them, Nitesh was always in a gaming industry, which was a very, very early on in this industry, whereas Prashant started in the space which was totally a travel industry, which was overcrowded. So it's a very interesting kind of a thing which is going to be there. So good afternoon, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav.
We wanted to start with that. I think a passion thing. So I think I wanted to ask both of you that what was the intent to start this company? What was the passion with which you started this company? What drove you to this company?
All right, I'll go first. Well, at Ease My Trip, we actually did not hunt for which industry we wanted to be in. We accidentally landed into it. We started with a mom and pop travel agency in year 2008. We used to call it as Duke Travel Agency. So ran that for about a year. And the reason why we started Duke Travel Agency was also, it's a long story. But after running the travel agency, we realized what are the things which we could do using technology and make the lives of travel agents simpler. So the first version of Ease My Trip was basically a B2B company, which travel agents could use to make their lives easier. And 3 years later, we became a consumer company, which is basically a B2C company. And now 97% of our business is consumer business. And that was the journey by which we landed into this particular industry.
So Prashant, when you were saying that when you started Duke, I came to know that you were booking a ticket and found that there's a huge gap in that, and then you started.
I was trying to avoid that.
No, good. So Nitesh, what was your motive of starting this company?
For me, gaming became a passion at a very young age. I was 7 when I started coding games. I came from a textile family, but got into gaming, became my life and my passion. And then I was studying in college in Bombay, not attending lectures, wanting something to do. And I said, why not start a gaming company? I was 16 or 17 that time. That's what I've been doing for the last 23 years.
No, but very interesting. In 1998, you started the company, and in 2000, you incorporated a private limited company in an age of 19, which is quite surprising, and I think that's really wonderful. What was, Nitesh, if I can ask you, what are the major milestones of your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, the first milestone was pretty soon after I started the company. It was started in 99 or early 2000, and the big dot-com crash happened in 2000. And learned a lot of hard lessons in those years. I remember another milestone was in 2004 when I got Sachin Tendulkar to endorse and become a brand ambassador for our cricket games. We didn't have much money that time. His endorsement fee was $1 million. We did a deal at $30,000, so it was a good deal that time. 2005, Westbridge Capital came in as an investor. And then, of course, through the long journey, we've had many milestones, but I would say 2021, when we did our IPO, was also another big milestone for us.
So, Nij, I wanted to ask you one thing, because Mr. Rakesh Junjunwala invested almost about 200 crores in you, and it was his first technology investment. How did you convince him?
I think the meeting with Rakesh lasted all of 45 minutes. So it didn't take a lot of convincing in that sense, but he's obviously very sharp, right? So he wanted to understand the gaming business. He had young kids at home. He saw them gaming all the time, so he understood the longer term trend where this is headed. And I think from a tech, new age, new media business, what he liked was, that Nazara had been profitable, capital efficient, focused on actual cash flows. I think he liked that in the new age business, plus the trend that's, going to grow. I think that's what made him invest.
Wonderful. So, Prashant, one point which was a pivoting point for your business, because you started with one and then eventually become a large company, so.
There have been multiple pivoting points for Ease My Trip, but the ones which I would like to talk about today are firstly the decision of becoming a B2C company while growing a B2B organization. Now, Ease My Trip grew bootstrap, wherein we never raised capital, right? In the first 3 years, we made a decent technology for travel agents to use us, and almost about 11,000 travel agents, out of 70,000 travel agents, 11,000 travel agents were using us in the first 3 years. But a job of an entrepreneur is basically to optimize for a decade, not for few years. So if we were optimizing for the next few years, we would have continued to be a B2B company and help travel agents grow. But we realized that it's only a matter of time that people will switch from travel agencies to booking themselves. And that was almost written on the wall. So we had, at that particular time, we had a call to take. Do we want to continuously grow our business in travel agency, which was growing very rapidly, or we want to pause this and start from scratch all over again? And it was actually not and, it was either or, because travel agents told us categorically that if you become a B2C company, consider our business to be gone. Because they did not want, they knew that we are going to be cannibalizing them eventually. So I think it was a very tough call, especially since we were almost hand-to-mouth company at that time. It was a very tough call to say that, hey, we want to do the right thing of what this company should be doing for the decade. And our business volume fell to almost 60 to 70% in year 2011 because we chose to become a B2C company. 60, 70% travel agents left us immediately. But overall, it paid off the way. It's been more than a decade since we are running a B2C company. Now we are the second largest travel portal in India, and majority of our business comes from regular consumers. So I think it paid off really well eventually.
In continuity to that, Prashant, you booked a turnover of 3,800 crores in the financial year 2022, and this year also in 6 months you did that, and with a PAT of almost about 150 crores of EBITDA, rather last year and this year also almost the same kind of in 6 months. I want to ask you, because you have started in an environment which was only investing 15 lakh rupees and you have never raised capital. How's your journey been this? Because your industry is a very overcrowded industry. A lot of big players are there. So would you like to focus on that?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot that how come you guys are profitable while all your competitors have been loss-making? And in fact, very recently in the last conference, I was asked this question that, do you think that by not having capital, you are focused less on innovation? My understanding is actually almost inversely proportional. You do crazy things only when you are pushed to the corner. That is when the real innovation starts. Otherwise, you're just throwing money and solving problem, right? So at Ease My Trip, we have this fundamental belief that all the solutions of any problem which we are facing, we start with these two frameworks. One is basically, first is to do the right thing for the consumer, and second, to do it profitably so that you can serve them for a longer period of time. And in that order, first is basically to do the right thing for the consumers. And one thing which we have understood, Ease My Trip grew to become second largest primarily because we don't charge convenience fees, as many of you would know. And also, we have a very strong, dedicated call center of our own. Now, we internally have realized that if you just do the right thing for a really long period of time, it compounds beautifully. And that is the case with Ease My Trip right now.
Thank you, Prashant. And friends, none of the last 13 years quarter was red for them. Even in the Corona also, they made, in the COVID times also, they made profit. That's the kind of company. I think wonderful. Many congratulations to you, Prashant. Nitesh, I wanted to ask you, as he was in the industry which was kind of overcrowded, a lot of big players were there, and you started a company which was totally a first mover advantage. Rather, there was very less, or rather, one company was there in gaming, absolutely no. So, what's your take on that as a early mover or a first mover kind of a company?
You know, in our case, I think from a gaming industry in India perspective, I think we started too early, right? And first mover advantage sometimes also becomes a disadvantage. I think we were a decade too early into the market. So it took us many, many years of struggle, many years of trying to figure out, will gaming monetize, how will it monetize, before we actually could see some proof of the pudding, right? So I think those early years for us was quite tough because you really had to have that perseverance to keep playing that game. That said, of course, there's some advantages. We've learned many lessons along the way, and I think specifically for gaming, I learned one lesson, that it's a very disruptive industry. Consumer preferences change, technology is changing very rapidly. It's a new industry, so regulations are changing very rapidly. And I realized that if I want to build a long-term, sustainable, profitable business in this kind of an environment, I will have to build a business model that is very de-risked. And I think we've, over the last many years, focused a lot on that. What I like to call a very stable ship in a stormy sea. That's the kind of model we've built, and which I believe will allow us to keep moving ahead, taking advantage of the opportunities as they come.
Great. So I have, in last 22 years, what I have seen that business is 3 Ps, which is passion, people, and purpose. Process. Sorry. So passion, people, process. So I wanted to ask both of you about the people. What was your HR policy, and what have you taken care in the HR domain? Because I think that's a very important thing. How you take care of your people.
I'll go first. So basically, if I were to attribute, some decent amount of percentage of our success, whatever little success we have achieved, I would say it's our internal growth mechanism, which has really worked well for the company. See, imagine, a young company, is my entrepreneur 2013, 14, where all our competitors have raised $100 million, $500 million, and while we are bootstrapped. So literally, we did not have enough money to hire product managers, quality analysts, marketers. Most of that job was done by us. We are 3 brothers. Most of the job was actually done by us. But since the company is growing, and it's very hard for us to, find these people who are going to be costing lakh and a half a month, we simply couldn't afford it. So this is what we did. We picked the top 20 call center employees in our organization, the ones who were high performing, and we trained them to become quality analysts, product managers, marketing managers, heck, even coders. And eventually, this became our policy. Of the 700 odd people we have, about 300 are in call center and 400 are in all call center. Among the 400, almost about 100 people have graduated from the call center department to the other departments. Now, we truly believe that people crave not just money, but also the titles and the roles and responsibility. And these people, these 100 people who have graduated from call center, they can proudly say that from being from a blue collar employee, they have become a white collar employee at Ease My Trip. And their loyalties, their dedication towards the company is unwavering. And these people are actually acting like quasi-founders within their departments and have given tremendous amount of value to the company over the period of time.
But when you are saying that call center, people, so is there any specific quality which you've seen in this? That's why you hired them, or there was something very important to hire these kind
It's
of
very easy to say that we knew it all at that time. The real answer was we couldn't afford anything else. But overall, we are still sticking by with this process. We have about 8 product managers in our organization, and all of them come from call center. But now we are knowing that these people are actually better off because they have been speaking to consumers for years, right? And they understand the problems a consumer faces and the product needs much better than any external person.
Great. So, Nitesh, what's your take on the?
For us, I think 2 things. On the objective side, the ESOP program for us worked very well, especially as we were able to create eventual liquidity through the IPO, right? And one of our needs to do the IPO was also to create that liquidity for the team. I think that was a motivating factor for people who were having ESOPs in our company for over a decade. Right? So I think that worked very well. The others, on the softer side, I've seen that, teams are smart enough to see through your intent very quickly. And I think having positive intent from your heart to do the best for your team works even much better than all the fancy things that you can offer them. Getting the right trust, right, and commitment is very important. And that kind of reputation spreads, that credibility really helps over a long period of time, especially if you're running a business for a long period of time.
Perfect. I think if you can communicate your vision in a very powerful way to your employees, I think they are going to be staying with you. Both of you have done a lot of acquisitions. You have grown organically also, and inorganically you have grown. So Nitesh, you have done Next Wave Multimedia, Nodwin, gaming, Paperboat apps, and then US company also you have taken. And then still you are, staying lean. And then I will come to you, Prashant, because you have also done a lot of acquisitions. So Nitesh, what you wanted to share about that? How did it help you in an organization on today, whatever you are?
Sure. So like I said, gaming is a disruptive business, fast-moving business, and there's a lot of innovation and creativity that is required there. And I realized that you need a structure or a platform that allows many founders, many companies to kind of grow on it. Because all that innovation and creativity may not come only from, our four walls. And from that perspective, we launched something called the Friends of Nazara Network over the last 5-6 years. We've acquired more than 10 companies. Many of the businesses we've acquired post-acquisition have grown 10x in revenues while remaining profitable, because that is our DNA. And that allows us to really have a rock star team, because we're able to bring on board founders and management teams which usually easily could not be hired also on board. Today my team comprises of 14-15 founders, which is really unique in that sense.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful point, that they are coming with a core competence and also with the founders which can eventually take the company hard. Wonderful. And I think Prashant, you have done multiple acquisitions, which is Spree Hospitality Management was one, and then YOLO Bus again, and there are some few more. So what's your take on that?
No, we are trying to follow the footsteps of Nazara and learning a lot about acquisition. But I guess I agree with Nitesh. It's not that you can do it all, right? You have to have strong team to work along with you, and there's nothing better to work along with founders and grow both the companies together. There is a lot of synergies. Ease My Trip, 90% of our business is air traffic. So we are looking forward to acquire more companies in the non-air space, which could be hotel, bus, train, holidays, cabs. And there is almost about 10 to 12 lakh people who visit our website on daily basis. So there is a lot of traffic which we could drive to the other organizations while working along with them and grow both the companies together.
So you are seeing, Ease My Trip to be a complete holiday company, or what's the objective?
We are an
you have?
OTA. We are an online travel agency. There is nothing which we want to leave in the travel space. We are growing internally. We are growing organically as well, and we are growing inorganically too. In fact, very recently we have realized that there is a lot of opportunity outside as well. We opened up an office in Dubai. We have opened up an office in London. We have opened up an office in Thailand and other places as well. And the understanding is that there is a strong moat which we have created over the period of time, and now it's the time to just go global.
Great. As a recent report, which is from a media, only 18 startups are a unicorn startup out of 107 startups are profitable. And from the day one, both of your focus was on profit, and you are quite mindful of that profit has to be be there in the focus for the company. So, what have you done to ensure that in the company? Because it's almost about 13 years consecutively, every year you are making profit, and every year you are growing in profit. So there must be something uniquely which we both of you must be doing, which is helping you doing that.
So in gaming space, we have a very strong focus on lifetime value of our customer versus cost of customer acquisition, and what are the metrics we are focusing on. I see a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes start chasing vanity metrics, whereas we like to focus on real metrics. In context of gaming, I would say vanity metric, for example, if you say I have 1 million downloads of my app, that's a vanity metric, right? Because 1 million downloads with no usage may mean nothing finally. But if you come and tell me I've got day one retention of X% or D30 retention, I've got so much virality or so much conversion into monetization. Those are more real metrics. So I think we focus a lot on the core metrics, and we try and avoid vanity metrics, or also investing a lot of money into vanity metrics. That helps a lot.
No, makes sense, yeah. I mean, even at Ease My Trip, the reason why we have been able to grow profitably is because of repeat transaction rate. In a year, if we are doing, let's say, about 1 crore tickets, almost 90% of them come from the users who have used Ease My Trip before. Hence, we are not overtly dependent on marketing and spending a lot of money on marketing budgets. So if you, and as Nitish said, if you actually just focus on retention as your key metrics, then you would try to fix everything in your organization, because I think that's the final output. If everything, your price point, your service, your product, everything is liked by the consumers, then only he will come back to use you. So hence it could be the holy grail for most of the organizations, and that's what we focus to.
Perfect. So, Nitesh, there are a lot of challenges in your industry, and as a government, sometimes they don't understand this industry also. So, what are the major challenges have you faced, and you are facing still, in the space in this sector? Can you
I think
light on that?
gaming as it's growing in India is going through a lot of regulatory turbulence. There is a lot of debate right now around the skill-based real money gaming space. What is legal, what is not legal, what is allowed, how is it going to be taxed, how is GST going to be applied. But I think the government is taking proactive steps to try and resolve some of this for the industry. I think it's part of any emerging industry where it will happen. I think over the next 2-3 years, we should see a lot of this normalize. On the positive side, government has set up the AVGC committee in the last budget. The meeting with Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji is involved quite actively in seeing how the industry can be supported. So I think positive steps are being taken.
Perfect. And for you, Prashant, what are the major challenges? Because environmental challenges last 2 years were great for the travel industry. So what were those challenges and how you overcome them?
Very interesting stories around to tell about. As soon as COVID hit, I think it was around 21st of March 2020 when the announcement came that everything is going to be shut, right? Now, ours is a business which is like tremendously hit. It just goes to a grinding halt. So, of course, we were seeing that as a huge challenge. Now, one thing which we realized while we were very close to our call center, we realized that everybody is looking for refund. All the calls, our call volume shot up almost by 3-4 times, where people are asking, when am I going to get a refund? Now, refunds are actually dependent on when the airlines or the hotels are they going to give the money, and then we are going to give it to consumers, right? But at that time, we saw there is an opportunity to do the right thing. And we had almost about 200 odd crores sitting in our bank account as the profit which we had booked for the last 12 odd years. So we used that money, we used our cash reserves and almost gave 130 odd crores back to the consumers as refund even before we got money from the airlines. Now that really, really helped us. As soon as the lockdown was removed, we immediately jumped from being the third largest OTA to the second largest OTA, and we were trending. So I think as an entrepreneur, our job is to basically find opportunities in the worrisome times rather than being worried about it. The worry part can be actually outsourced. As an entrepreneur, we should be looking for opportunities of how we could make the best of challenging times.
Great. And I think till you become an IPO company, you never raised a capital. You were always a bootstrap. And would you like to share something? Because as a V Founder Circle, we raise capital for people. That's what we do. And you have built a company which is purely a bootstrap company. And your space is also where the capital is required.
Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, I don't want to say anything which is against raising money. I think VC money is a great money to solve a lot of teething problems. We chose to do it the hard way. Initially, we couldn't raise money, and later on, when the money came in, when VCs were interested in investing, we thought that we could do it without it. So I really believe that there's nothing wrong with the VC money. It's just that you have to figure out one day then when you're going to turn profitable, and you can't use venture capital money as a part of your P&L. You have to see it as a debt. That's how I believe the money should be used. Overall, I think the journey has been more rewarding, especially after going public. Now we have lakhs of shareholders, and we feel extremely proud. There's nothing I would want to say over here for the entrepreneurs to dissuade them for not to be listed. I know that the markets are going up and down these days, but overall, it's a very, very proud feeling to be, one of the co-founders of a listed company and create value for the country. And most of the startups should anyways be seen, the ones which are listed. We are at a very nascent stage right now. Most of the internet companies got listed only about a year and a half ago. So I think companies should be given at least 4 or 5 years of time frame to be able to judge them better.
Great. And Nitesh, you have raised capital, but very, very efficient capital you have raised. You have not done multiple rounds. What do you wanted to share about, your fundraising journey? And then in 2000, you incorporated a company which was a private limited company. And did you thought that one day you will be listed almost about 20 years? Have you imagined that?
No, when I started my company or our company, it was more about, gaming will become very large in India, and that was the dream or the vision that we were pursuing, not specifically that we will IPO the company, etc. So, yeah, I think we did raise a small amount of capital, 12 crores in 2005 from Westbridge Capital. And all the way till the IPO. Just before the IPO, we raised some additional capital, but for the 15 years, we had not raised any more capital. So to that extent, yeah, we kind of ran a bootstrapped business for most of our life. Yeah. But at the same time, just to add to what Prashant was saying, I think times have changed. Because I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs today, and I don't want entrepreneurs to feel that I should be doing a bootstrap business for 20 years and then taking it IPO. I think today you're in a very different world. The TAM of Indian market, right, is so massive. The opportunity is so fast. The whole macro factors like data, digital payments, etc., has become so large that Indian startups can build big in India and take over the world, right? I'm a big believer. In the last couple of years, I've been consistently saying that India is going to be the startup nation of the world, come what may, right? And I think with the amount of equity capital available to the entrepreneurs, if with the right idea, they can leverage their equity capital in the right manner, not waste it, but use it in the right manner to grow their business much faster. I think this is a time to do that, rather than today sit to try and bootstrap a business for 20 years. My personal opinion.
So Nitesh, when you are saying that in last almost about an year, as a V Founder Circle, we have gone to 42 cities of India. And cities like Bilaspur, Bhilwara, Erode, Salem, and the kind of enthusiasm we are seeing in the people there, the people those are listening to the angel investing for the first time and are excited about it, and the new generation entrepreneurs, I think that's a really wonderful thing that, we are going to be a number one startup nation of the world. I think that's a great thought. Prashant, I wanted to ask you that at the same time when the pandemic was going on, your IPO came. Did you wanted to share something on that? Because that's a very interesting thing.
Yeah, we actually started the IPO preparation in September 2018. And in September 2018, we fixed the date that we would get listed in March 2020. So it was all backward calculation that in 1.5 years, we will make ourselves IPO ready. And not knowing what was about to come, right? So we almost closed pre-IPO round in February 2020, hoping, I hope you guys can remember the phase when we were seeing things go crazy in China. Things were going ballistic, and within your heart, you would want to believe that ye India mein nahi hoga. Right? Within your heart, you're like, no, this can't happen in my country. We are not going to be facing this. We're not going to see people just drop dead on the road, right? So we were, as a founder, we were still very optimistic that COVID is not going to come to this country. Till January 2020, we were kind of just assuming that this is not going to happen to this country. But then, February 2020, when we saw cases, and as a travel company, we could see cases go up in Italy, we realized now we are in a fix. And the good thing is that we called the people who wanted to put money in pre-IPO, we called them proactively and told them that, boss abhi nahi hoga, you'll have to indefinitely postpone it because something big is coming. And the big thing came in March 2020. And a year later, in March 2021, we saw a good opportune time. See, first wave died. We did not know whether there's going to be a second wave or not. And in March 2021, we got listed.
Yeah, but that was also a second wave time. It was
Second wave happened just after we
Just.
got listed. We were not knowing that second wave is going to happen.
Yeah, but that was very courageous. That last 1 year, the sentiment was not good for the industry, and then you came with an IPO. That was an, I think,
So, we were ready to be listed, and there was enough interest from the investor side for us to be listed. And the best thing which we did actually was basically, undervalue our IPO valuation. I think at the time of listing, our bankers were suggesting us for us to be listed at about 4,000 crore valuation, while we as a founder took a call that we will be listed at 2,000 crore valuation. So we left enough on the table, and because of which I think the company has done well even in the stock markets in the last 1.5 years.
yeah. So at present, it is almost about 9,700 crores valuation. So we are coming up. We are just completing our session. Any advice you wanted to give, both of you, because people here wanted to see a journey from, they have seen your journey from a startup to an IPO company. Any two advices you wanted to give, please?
I think for all entrepreneurs, think big and build fast is the best advice in India today.
For me, I would say that, we have to start accepting failures. And as a nation, we have to start wearing them as a badge of honor. See, failures, if you reflect the failures and have a very strong time understanding why things didn't work out, failure can teach you a lot more than success. In success, you are just repeating the same thing. You do not want to let go of the success formula. Hence, actually, success is a lousy teacher. Only failure teaches you, because then you are trying 10 different things to succeed. So as a country, I believe, and internally as well, we have to internalize that failure is not bad, and it could only be the pivotal point. And the second thing which I have lived as a mantra is, stay more curious than cautious. In this life, curiosity will take you to places. Caution is not something which an entrepreneur should be really focused on.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, both of you. Thank you for your knowledge and sharing. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you.